It's time for Morning Soulshine with Bridget, a podcast where we interview people who express their stories of triumph. I'm your host, certified life and mindset coach, Bridget Gibson. And on today, we have a very, very special guest. She's not only a domestic violence survivor, but she's also a human traffic survivor. And we want to welcome Stephanie Strom. And she is beautiful and she is wonderful. And we're just so happy to have you with us, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Stephanie, your journey to getting to where you are today, talk to us about your journey.
Okay, well, my name is Stephanie Strom. I'm also known as Lady Storm these days. And I'm a survivor of domestic abuse and human trafficking. I've been out of the life now for about 7 years. And through my journey of healing, I'm now at a time when I just have to say I've helped other survivors get out of abusive relationships. And even one that spent her entire life in a human trafficking environment. And all of them have continued to elevate their lives and stay out of these types of relationships for a few years now. So it's my passion to help others. It always has been, but now I'm in the light of my true purpose, and that is to end exploitation in toxic relationships globally. So my story, it's got a rocky start and a lot of bad choices, a lot of bad people, but the end is going to be really good. It's going to be great.
And we're so happy for you. And we're so honored that you're here with us and you're sharing your story. And on today, I did some research on human trafficking and sex trafficking here in the United States. And I found that it's right in our backyards. It's right in our neighborhoods. It's happening right around us. And just unaware of what is going on right in our backyards. And so, Stephanie, on this morning, I want you to share with us, I have a few questions, and I wanted to know, where did this begin in your life? How did you become involved, if that's the right word,
right,
or lured into this sex trafficking situation?
Well, it started at home. Actually, I bumped heads a lot with my mom. My mom, I now know, has a high chance of being a narcissist. So we weren't getting along, right? And it got to the point where she would actually kick me out of the house. Between the ages of 13 and 18, I was going through that. I wasn't coming home on time. I was talking back. I was a teenager, stomping my feet. And one of her moves was to pack my stuff and put me outside, right? And I actually started living with a girlfriend whose parents let us do whatever we wanted. There was no parental guidance there. So we ran free and wild. And what I didn't realize is that when you're out there hanging out in the streets, there's some really bad people that know exactly what to do, right? So you meet somebody that's older and flashier and they have a car. Well, that's great at 14 years old. And so as simple as that. Simple as that. I was somebody that didn't know who I was looking for love and acceptance and a place to belong, so most of us have something that happened to us traumatic in our lives growing up as a child and a parent. And it's just such an important relationship. I just think there should be parenting classes in school because it was just wrong to put me out there. It was something that my mom just she had no idea what was going on when I was out there, And that's just sad.
Yeah, that's really sad. And we're so sorry that you experienced those situations. And I want on this morning, because I want to be very cautious with what I'm asking you, because I feel like this situation is so horrible, and it's such a very sensitive situation, that you were in, and such a young person to go through so much. What are some of the red flags that young people should look for, just growing up today?
Right. I'm at a point, Miss Bridget, you can ask me anything, because I am so passionate of getting the word out. I have young nieces, and that was my why to stop doing it and get out. I had to let them know that all about it. So here I am letting you know, red flags. When you're meeting people and they're not being honest about who they are, one of the red flags I know from my experience was someone who is not what they don't want to label the relationship. Even after a few months of dating, they'll just go around in circles and not even say we're just friends. They just don't want to label it, or they're not trying to take pictures with you for Instagram. No pictures. They'll say they're not into that. They might not want to meet your family, even when the time is right. But most importantly, you'll have this gut feeling. And that's a red flag. Your intuition, you're questioning what they're saying. And if you question them out loud, they'll actually put you down so slightly, like, oh, you're being paranoid. Oh, you ask a lot of questions. And on my podcast, I share in detail a story where that's exactly what happened to me. And I ended up being robbed. And that was one of the biggest things, not trusting in myself, thinking, oh, I'm being weak. Oh, I'm just not sure. But really, now looking back, I realized that that's what they put in my head. That's what people say, that are your so-called friends. But really, your gut feeling, your instinct, your intuition is definitely what you should be listening to.
Now, Stephanie, you and I met in Clubhouse, and you were telling your story on Clubhouse. And in one of the rooms that I was in, you shared that the boyfriend that you had was not who he said or who he was. He was somebody different. Can you talk about that relationship?
Yeah, it's interesting. I know so much now, but he was so good in the beginning, right? So caring and kind, and listening to my story. Wasn't who they said they were. I thought for a very long time, I could tell you throughout it all that this was my boyfriend, and we were struggling and hustling together for a better life. Human trafficking, sex trafficking at that is, what is it? It's fraud. It's coercion. They trick you. And so there were very good times when he was reeling me in as my boyfriend. And then there were very bad times when he would get angry and he became violent and a different person, a complete different person. Jekyll and Hyde, definitely. We tend to think that when you have some trauma, maybe childhood trauma, or you're not sure of yourself, we think that an uncontrolling person that is jealous, it could be love, all this attention, they're telling you what you should or shouldn't do. It seems to feel like love and that you belong somewhere. And people may think a person who's acting that way, or like I said, even jealous, it's because they love you. But actually, jealousy can be a very dangerous thing. And most of the time, I've seen it turn into violence and abuse. It's just that simple. Jealousy is not a healthy trait. And when you're being manipulated, your emotions are all over the place and you can't figure out exactly that. So if we're being controlled by someone that's a trickster with a strong personality like that and wants to run things, that is a dangerous zone and it surprises you.
Stephanie, can you explain to the audience, what is sex trafficking?
Yes. Well, you hear a lot of you hear the word human trafficking, and that involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to either obtain some type of labor work, under paying people, having children work in sweatshops, or it involves or with sex trafficking. So there's labor, and then there's the sex act part where it involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of sex act. So sex trafficking, there's lots of different levels to it, but I really love to tell this, that it's not somebody being kidnapped and put in a trunk and being tied up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the tricksters that tell you that they love you and that you'll get out of this one day and just do it one time. I'm talking about pimps that they fool you into a house that they're going to make into a home. And so that's where the fraud is. And then before you know it, when you're tired and you don't want to go strip in the club, because it starts little and then it gets bigger. I started in dancing in a strip club, and I was promised false things about money and life. And then it became streetwalking. And by the time I became a Las Vegas call girl, I just felt like that. I was stuck. I was tainted and angry. I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it. And sex trafficking it's coercion, it's trickery, it's manipulation, and it's a complete lifestyle. Like, there's a head of the household, and there's a middle and the lowest, the beginning girl. There's always a new one coming. And it's a game of competition, and it's sick. It's very sick.
And Stephanie, I look at your picture and you're so beautiful and you're petite. And I'm wondering, how did you survive? How did you survive?
Yeah, you become tough. You become very tough. And it wasn't easy. I can tell you lots of stories where I can't believe I'm still here. But you learn how to not be attacked as much. You become very aware. There's skills that you learn, reading people and, going with your first instinct and carrying weapons and learning the lingo, right? So that's how I survived. I survived by preparing before I would go out. And, there was a few times that I thought I wasn't gonna live over past that night. And somehow I always would get out at the last moment. It would always just, something would happen and the guy would quit beating me, or the cops would come, or somebody was late showing up. But God and my prayers, that too helped me survive.
Now, did anyone ever go to jail for what they did to you?
No, nobody. No, I never told. I didn't start talking or even telling. I never told anyone what was going on until after I finally had enough and realized what happened to me. I was dealing with a narcissist, a few of them. And I didn't know what that was until after I finally left that last time, and I actually was hiding out in an empty apartment of my own. I finally got my own apartment and was hiding out. And I fell upon the word narcissism, and human trafficking. And I was just like, oh my God, this is me, but I didn't tell on anyone. And actually the last guy that I was with and that I ran away from and was hiding out from, after 2 months of hiding out from him, he was killed in the street.
Wow.
I'm surprised I didn't celebrate.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got a head start on, right?
Yeah.
He stopped looking for me that day.
Whew. Stephanie, this is heavy. This is very heavy. And when we talked about doing this interview, I thought I would be prepared for it, but you're never prepared to hear such, devastation, but God, you're here with us today to tell your story and to help someone else. And hopefully someone who's listening right now, they're hearing you and knowing that they can make it out also. And I want to know, how did you escape? How did you get out?
Well, like I said, I lied, and I had the guy that was driving me around to do escort calls step out of the car that I was driving. It's literally simple as that. And I drove to another state, and I called my dad, who I hadn't talked to in probably 20 years. And he told me to come home. And I did. And we had the best talk ever. And I didn't even tell him what was going on. I didn't tell him any details. I just told him I needed his help. And he said, okay. And he got me an apartment and hid me out. Didn't answer those calls right along with me. It was as simple as that. I just could not. I had to cut off everyone involved, because I did have friends that were there, girlfriends. And I had to just shut it down, because it just hit me when I looked at my nieces. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want them to be me. I don't want them to have a tragic story about their aunt. I want them to have a triumphant story about their aunt. That was the goal. And so I hid out, and I got lucky. He got killed. So that's how I got out. But also, while I was hiding in this empty apartment, I want to tell you, I came across a quote on Facebook, I believe it was. And it was one of the biggest lessons that I learned was, it was a quote, and it said, not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path. And that's when I looked back at all the horrible things I went through and realized that it was happening to clear my path, to get rid of it. When he would choke me out or just cheat and lie to me, that was my chance to get away. And I finally took it, because it just continued. It never ended, right? So my experience gave me strength and knowledge and purpose. And I can finally see. So I allowed it to clear my path. And I can see clearly now, and I'm back to being me, fully me, caring and open. And that's okay, because I now have that power to be able to protect myself, right? And
yes, you do. And you are a powerful woman. You are amazing. And I just love you. I just love you.
Thank you.
So what is your mission now? What is your mission? Talk to us about your mission.
Yes, thank you. My mission. I actually wrote a little something right here I wanted to say. Hold on.
No, we're here with you.
All right. So my mission now is to inspire and empower survivors of trafficking and domestic abuse, while connecting these survivors with supportive resources to achieve personal long-term goals. So I'm now on a journey of starting a nonprofit that will connect survivors with great resources. And I offer private peer support sessions where I offer emotional support, share knowledge, and assist in reaching their goals, And I have over 7,000 followers on Facebook, which is under Lady Storm Healing. And every day I'm building on my Instagram, which is at ladystorm.com. And on those pages, I share motivational and informational quotes written by myself or my peers. And I also have a podcast called Lady Storm where I share my personal stories about what I was, how it was in the life. And we always end with offering a resource to help others. So yeah, I just want to save our communities by bringing to light what can't be seen, and share the steps that I took that saved my life. And I'm not going back, I'm finally not going back. And I'm just excited that you invited me here because I hope someone who needs help, plus the people that offer resources towards that help, will hear me, and anybody and everybody is welcome to reach out to me.
Well, we're so happy that you've been with us, and we're so proud of you, and we're just praying for you, and we're praying for your mission and your goals, and that God will bless your nonprofit. And if there's anything that we can do here for you at Morning Soulshine with Bridget, we would be happy to do that. And we're just going to continue keeping in touch with each other. And please come back and join me. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Yes. If you're somebody that feels like others put you in a box and you want to get out, if you're being hurt, reach out. There are people out here that are cool, understanding, and have actually gone through what we have gone through and have changed their life towards a happy, secure future. And they want to be down for you and help you. You won't be locked up. They don't make you go to church every day. Like, they got real understanding people these days that they call peer support specialist or lived experience specialist, which means they've been through what we've been through and they got out and they're doing good and now starting their own businesses for real. And they're not on cots, in some warehouse lined up. These are real homes, real people offering you your own space. All you got to do is run. They help hook you up with new everything, furniture, clothes, housing, nice places. They will fly you back home for free. Of course, you can't do drugs, and you got to want to change and get away from your abuser. Listen, I know how it feels to not understand what's going on, not knowing my worth, or not feeling loved. No matter if you're young or older, or male or female, reach out, tell someone, and start your journey towards real love, respect, and pure happiness. And to the parents, guardians, ministers, to the teachers. Yes, it's everywhere. I was raised in a middle-class home. My father was a college professor. My mother was a stay-at-home mom. And still, just out my door, a college, mostly Caucasian neighborhood, I met my first pimp. So if it's not on your street, I bet you it's on the next street over, because I went to all types of neighborhoods working. Rich, poor, young, old, professionals, fat, skinny, good looking, every type, every color, every race. So we are all involved. Miss Bridget, I really appreciate you inviting me here. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And you've been listening to Morning Soulshine with Bridget, and we'll talk to you again on next week. Thank you so much.